So, Herc, you were all over the reaction. I remember that game on ESPN Deportes. There was almost like a meltdown after Liga MX lost that game. Is that fair to say?
I think it's accurate.
You were part of that meltdown, I remember.
If you've seen ESPN Deportes, it's par.
Yeah.
That's par for the course. That's what it's about. It's of huge importance to them. It's their everyday life. It's what they do. They eat, breathe, and sleep the sport. And they don't want to lose to the United States. They don't want to lose to Major League Soccer. And I've heard this before when I was in those locker rooms. They have basketball. They have football, American football. They have hockey. They have baseball. This is our sport. And all of a sudden, Major League Soccer, all of a sudden, U.S. Soccer, off of this ridiculous 12 to 18 months, they can ill afford another loss. They can ill afford another black eye.
Quickly, Ben, you mentioned something this morning about respect. Give me the MLS perspective on that.
Well, when you lose 15 CONCACAFs in a row, it's hard to get the respect. But then you win one, and you clean up this league, and you get it to where they fear you. It's pretty darn good.
And it's getting there. It certainly is getting there. Let's get down to the fields to hear the two national anthems. We'll start with the Mexican national anthem, courtesy of 7-year-old Mateo Lopez.
Según los récords mundiales Guinness, Mateo López interpreta el himno nacional de México.
El acero aplasta y el bidón, y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Sino patria tú tienes de oliva, de la paz el arcángel divino, que en el cielo tu eterno destino por un dedo de Dios se escribió. Mas si osar un extraño enemigo profanar con su planta tu suelo, piensa patria querida, que en el cielo un soldado en cada hijo te dio, un soldado en cada hijo te dio. Mexicanos al grito de guerra, el acero apresad y el bidón, y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. ¡Viva México!
Singers from the award-winning Twin Cities Angelica Cantante Youth Choirs performed the national anthem of the United States.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star
safe to say the kids are going to be all right. That's the Twin Cities Angelica Constanti Youth Choir, preceded by Mateo Lopez. Absolutely beautiful renditions of their respective national anthems. Kickoff coming up then between the Liga MX and MLS All-Stars. Let's head up to the booth now for further perspective on this game. John Champion standing by with the 2005 MLS All-Star Game MVP.
Wow. Got highlights on my phone, John. We'll get to it after the game.
Am I supposed to bow? What am I meant to do?
Just show some respect.
Okay, 5-time All-Star.
That's much better.
Alongside me with that one goal against Fulham, which he'll mention at least 23 times this evening. Now, this is, in theory, an exhibition. It's a showcase, but if we learned anything from last season when these two sides locked horns, it is that it is an exhibition with a real edge, and tonight played in a stadium with a proper energy.
Because, John, I'll argue with anyone in the United States, this is the best All-Star game format, because what other league in this country has league and national pride when these two All-Star teams come together? So anytime the United States and Mexico do something, there's animosity, there's an edge to it. And I understand it. Tonight is an exhibition. I'm not calling it a World Cup final, but this is a showcase for both leagues, for the collection of players that are representing each league. You're going to get a different type of All-Star game than you're going to get in every other sport, and this has been a home run for Major League Soccer with this relationship in Liga MX.
Well, the toss of the coin between the two captains, and whilst that is undertaken, we can take a look at the MLS lineup presented by DoorDash.
Yeah, the MLS All-Stars coached by Minnesota United, Adrian Heath. LA Galaxy and LAFC will have two starters each. Palacios, Araujo, playing as the wingbacks. Zimmerman, former LAFC player with Miller through the middle. Nagbe making his second All-Star appearance. Reynoso, Driussi. So many first-time All-Star appearances with Palacios and Morris and Driussi, Reynoso and Miller. And it's remarkable to think that both Vela and Chicharito need to get reacquainted, playing together for the first time over the last 4 years.
So there is the MLS All-Star lineup, selected in part by Adrian Heath. And one sad note, you will see the black armband. His longest-standing childhood friend, Alan Salt, passed away tragically early this morning, and that is a mark of respect to him. The match referee is Joe Dickerson, as we turn our attention to the Liga MX lineup, which, Taylor, includes 3 players from the reigning champions who won the title for the first time in 7 decades, Atlas.
Yeah, and a very experienced 11 with quality all over the field. The midfield's going to be full of aggression with Beltran and Pizarro leading the charge, with a ton of just putting Major League Soccer All-Stars under a lot of pressure, but pace is a plenty with this 11. Quinones and Hurtado wide, supporting Forch up front. The front 3 extremely dynamic and extremely aggressive.
Who starts as favourites, Taylor? Can you say that in a context such as this, where we're going to have multiple substitutions?
No, but I think his formation of the roster, Diego Coca, I think it looks a little bit more balanced. As Adrian Heath told you and I, he's got about 10 center forwards and 4 center backs, but it's an all-star game, put on a show. I would say Liga MX right now has a little bit more balance to the roster. Be interesting to see how the first 30 minutes unfold.
Offsetting that, an awful lot of individual talent in the MLS ranks tonight. It's a perfect evening, lovely temperature, no appreciable breeze, perfect underfoot conditions for the 26th MLS All-Star Game. An annual highlight on the calendar, and surely a career highlight too for many of those privileged enough to be invited to take part. MLS All-Stars in the slate grey, including Emmanuel Reynoso, the hometown hero, and also, intriguingly, the 2 highest profile Mexican players involved tonight, both within the MLS All-Star ranks. Vela and Chicharito Hernandez appearing together on the same team for the first time since representing Mexico at the last World Cup. Julian Quinones out to his namesake Luis, no relation, and Luis Quinones, cross repelled by Walker Zimmerman. Slightly nervy moment from Julian Araujo, leads to a number of appeals in the direction of Joe Dickerson, who simply gives a throw on the far side. We do, and I should mention this at this juncture, have VAR tonight, and Joe Dickerson is just saying take a moment whilst VAR, who is Jorge Gonzalez, takes a little look. That's happened. It's play on. Pretty thunderous atmosphere to get us underway here. Second year running, it's an iteration of this growing and carefully nurtured rivalry between the US and Mexico. We've got a glimpse there of Joe Dickerson, the referee from Santa Clara, California. One of the most promising up-and-coming officials in Major League Soccer, now in his 6th season. Vela looking for Seattle's Jordan Morris. Reynosa. Driussi. Diego Palacios of LAFC, teased in. There's the opener. And it is Carlos Vela. 2 minutes in. The Mexican scores against the Mexicans.
Well, the biggest thing Steve Cherundolo wanted to work on with Diego Palacios when he took over the head coach role at LAFC was his final ball delivery. And at his best, he's a best 11 type of player. But what Steve Cherundolo and his staff have done has just brought a little bit more nuance, a little bit more composure in the final third, cutting the defender and then delivering a wonderful ball to his LAFC teammate on the back post. How about that start for the MLS All-Stars here in St. Paul?
Thunderous noise and a thunderous start from the hosts, with a goal in double quick time. The most inviting of crosses from the Ecuadorian Palacios. Met four square by Carlos Vela. Fuch. Julian Quiñones. Guido Pizarro, that's a foul beneath the nose of the referee. A pretty rugged challenge too.
You want to remind everyone that it's an all-star game? Someone remind the 22 players on the field. Pizarro getting stuck in, coming right through with a good tackle on Darlington Nagbe. That's exactly why this type of all-star game here in the United States just leads to a better show of talent from both sides.
Zimmerman. It's away by Lisandro Lopez. 26 players available to MLS tonight, 27 to Liga MX. Unlimited substitutions, but they have to be made within 3 windows, plus half-time. Intelligence we were getting from Adrian Heath is that because he has so many attacking players, they will probably do 30 minutes each. The defenders will do half of the game, then be switched out.
Who does Minnesota United play this weekend?
Nashville, which means that
Zimmerman will play 90 and Mukhtar will play 60.
Yeah, and they're also being held behind for extra training, I gather, afterwards. You see, back to Zimmerman. Now, Darlington Nagbe. Reynoso. Vela. Driussi. To Morris. Miller. Foul by Driussi.
What a turn that was from Hurtado. 2 MLS All-Stars on his backside, quickly turning, using his pace to get in behind.
Quiñones. Zarajo, South of Mexican international. Luis Quiñones. Over Fuch, dealt with by Palacios. Lopez. Palacios again. Brian Angulo of Toluca. Looking for Puch of Atlas. Atlas, the story in Mexican football. Apertura and Clausura. Their first league title for 70 years. They and the runners-up, Pachuca, have the most representatives in this Liga MX squad, 6 from each club. 13 of the 18 Mexican league sides represented. In MLS, it's 16 of the 28 teams. And the dominant audio experience inside Allianz Field is provided by that big bass drum at the moment. Zimmerman. Morris with the flick. Julian Quiñones. Flag it up for offside, so whether that was or wasn't a foul doesn't really matter anymore.
But just watch Pizarro and just the tempo that he sets to the game in his second stint with Tigres as their 6th. Just a fantastic understanding of what the game needs in certain moments. And so Reynoso and Driussi need to do a good enough job of pulling him side to side and not allowing him to just set the space and limit anything through the middle for MLS All-Stars. Yeah, Driussi's on here. Good ball from Walker Zimmerman.
Palacios, Vela. There's a lot of fluidity already evident to the movement of the MLS All-Stars. Nagby.
Well, and in games like these, John, it often takes you about 10 minutes. Just figure it out, see what the game is, because there's so many similarities between the quality of some of these players, and so now you've got to have a good balance. Look at Reynoso and Driussi now having a good understanding. It's taken them about 9-10 minutes to get into this. Allow Nagby to be the facilitator, but players of this quality don't need a ton of time to figure it out.
Voice of 5-time All-Star Taylor Twellman. That's your second mention tonight. What is it, 7 in the course of the game I've contractually got to do?
Over under and 6.5, so.
Zimmerman. Looking long for Morris. He's in behind Angulo. Lopez, the defender. He blocks it behind for a corner.
Yeah, what a good run this is from Jordan Morris. Just looking real comfortable with that knee. It's almost an identical ball that we saw Walker Zimmerman play Christian Pulisic in the World Cup qualifier. Right, a direct ball played with real quality but pace, so now Jordan Morris can run onto it. He can take a touch. Good luck from the 2 U.S. men's national team teammates there for MLS All-Stars.
Hero's reception, the caller for the local hero, Emmanuel Reynoso, who'll take this kick. Towards Zimmerman, out by Furch, back by Nagby. Be re-delivered by the Argentine Reynoso. Zimmerman couldn't get there. Miller did. Perilously close to 2 for MLS All-Stars. And instead it's the counter from their Liga MX counterparts that'll be snuffed out by Araujo. Well, let's get some feeling from down pitch side by joining DeAndre Yedlin, a 3rd All-Star appearance for him. One of them against the All-Stars with Tottenham, and he's with Gillian.
DeAndre, what do you think of this start for the MLS All-Stars?
Yeah, it's a great start. You know, 1-0 early in the game. You know, it's been pretty competitive so far, and it's been fun to watch. Hopefully, it's the same amount of fun playing.
A 3-time All-Star yourself, but your first not since you returned to the league. So last time you played in an MLS All-Star game was 2014. How have things changed?
I mean, the time in the league has just gotten so much better. You know, know, bringing great players in, and obviously the young players that are going out have developed so well. The facilities that have been built are incredible. You know, we're in a world-class stadium right now, so it's just been great to see.
In by Escobar! Best chance so far for Liga MX. It's a devilishly difficult ball to try and defend. And Fuch was in there trying to poach.
Yeah, but what a fantastic ball in this is for Escobar. It's just a ball in that now is in the back line of the MLS All-Stars, and it switch the point of attack, get it wide, but prep it and then give your attacking player an opportunity to get on the end of. That ball's bouncing inside the 6. Nobody from MLS All-Stars getting on the end of it. Difficult one for Fuch to get up over it and head it down, but a fantastic ball in from Escobar.
Christine and Gillian are our touchline reporters who'll be bringing flavour throughout the night. Jill, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Something happened.
It's called Liga MX, John. No big deal. DeAndre, so we were chatting and ball almost went in down there. But when I was talking to you earlier this week, you told me you started a book club and a meditation club over at Inter Miami. No time really for a book club, but have you got any of these All-Stars to meditate with you this week?
Not yet. Still not enough time to convince everybody, but I've actually talked to a couple of them, and some of them already do meditate, so it's pretty cool.
All right, who's that?
I think Walker does a little meditation. You know, I don't know if Darlington does, but he's such a chill guy anyways. I don't even think he needs it.
DeAndre Yedlin, thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Gillian. DeAndre Yedlin out of MLS for 7.5 years, now happily back in it with Inter Miami. For MLS against Bayern in 2014 and against them for Tottenham in 15. Here's Luis Quiñones. Morris having to be the last line of defensive play by the goalkeeper. Doing a good enough job.
Well, Luis Quiñones just direct pace, putting real pressure. Kamal Miller steps over here, unlucky. Jordan Morris getting in the way of that. Just doing the little thing to defend in that key moment. But you can see the pace is aplenty with Liga MX all over the field.
Hurtado, 35, is still an effervescent presence, as he showed in the skills challenge last night. And it's Hurtado's cross and Fuch with the header.
Hurtado may be 35, but he looks like he's 23. How about some of the scissor kicks that he put on in the skills competition? Just great energy, but also a real confidence and belief in his ability. 2017, he was the most expensive signing in Monterrey's history. Just a left winger, right winger, two-time best 11. Just a dangerous player, complete career, and still operating at a high level at 35 years of age.
So Carlos Vela scored the only goal after 2 minutes and 9 seconds. We are in this curious position where the two most star-crossed Mexicans are playing for the MLS All-Stars. I wonder, Hercules Gomez from our studio set, how does that go down in Mexico? The two biggest Mexican players playing for the enemy.
Oh, they don't like it. Anytime a Mexican player with a promising future, doesn't matter at what station he is of that future, comes to Major League Soccer, they see it as a step back. For the longest time, Mexican football has dominated over Major League Soccer and U.S. soccer, and they think it's still the same. So they think it's reverting in their career. They definitely don't take it well.
But is that not an outdated thought now with the way that MLS has developed?
Oh, absolutely, but one could argue, and this is what they do argue, that they have more time in Europe. They want to see him playing at the highest of levels. It's been a case in Juan Carlos Osorio. He's made that claim. He doesn't like when the Mexican players of European stature come back to Major League Soccer. He wants to see him playing at the highest of levels. And we see this to date, even with Tata Martino.
Good insight. Thanks, Herc.
There's always been a gap between Liga MX and Major League Soccer. And yet Mikel Arriola on Leagues Cup in LA made a real strong statement that made headlines in Mexico. Over the last 12 years, MLS owners have made a 600% more investment into the infrastructure and growth of the game. And that is why I think Liga MX owners are hearing real footsteps getting closer and closer from MLS.
Free kick to MLS, which Reynoso is going to initiate. We'll come out as far as Araujo of the Galaxy. Now to LAFC's Carlos Vela. By Lisandro Lopez of Tijuana. Palacios.
Oh, what a ball.
Kamal Miller. He had stars in his eyes.
Oh, look at the smile on Kamal Miller's face. He's got a nosebleed. He hasn't been up that far in a long time. What a fantastic year. And honestly, last 18 months he's had with the Canadian national team and in Montreal. Coming from Syracuse University, teammates with Miles Robinson. And he was club teammates with Dane St. Clair, but Kamal Miller's turned into a fine Major League Soccer and international center back.
We'll probably show more of that at the World Cup this autumn. Fastest goal in an MLS All-Star game since Ika Makeda scored for Manchester United in 2010 in the first minute. Fastest goal in this fixture for 12 years, therefore.
John, you've hung out with me for what, last 5-6 years against your will?
It feels like longer.
Okay. I think the one thing that I'm going to always ask the what-if question is, what if Darlington Nagbe was on that plane to the World Cup this winter?
It could only be good news for the U.S.
I mean, Jay, it's the what if. You watch him, how he controls the game, the tempo by which he plays, every pass, every decision just on point. He's making his second All-Star game since, it's 2016 was the last one he played in against Arsenal. He's such a joy to watch. And early on in his career, I was very critical of him, but he was playing wide, and I felt like he could have 15 goals, 10 assists. Boy, how did I get that one wrong?
This is Luis Quiñones. Zimmerman, oh, nasty for Andre Blake, but he dealt with it pretty well. Well, we're getting into the stretch run of the regular season in Major League Soccer now. A few highlight games coming up on our end. Notably, Friday week, the Galaxy against the Sounders, 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. End of the month, we also have another Friday night with Portland, Seattle, and Austin LAFC, the top two in the West. Back-to-back games. On the subject of Darlington Nagbe, Kevin Kilbane, the former Irish international winger, 110 caps, played in the Premier League for 15 years, is here working for our Canadian TV colleagues tonight. And I was running through the squad with him a bit earlier today. And I got as far as Nagbe, and he just started nodding. And I said, why are you nodding? He said, Darlington Nagbe, proper player. And he doesn't give out compliments like that easily. He also said he'd been to watch the MLS Next Pro game, and the coach on the touchline had caught his eye because he insisted on wearing shades.
Yeah, it was fantastic. One of the best coaches those kids will ever play for.
I said, who was it? He said, I don't know his name, but he certainly dyes his hair. Here's Reynoso. Escobar. Beltran. Escobar! They are getting closer.
And where they're getting closer is the three in the midfield are forcing Driussi and Reynoso to defend. And so Beltran just forcing the issue, penetrating with the ball, forcing Nagbe to pull aside, and then Escobar again has delivered every single dangerous bar for Liga MX. On any given night, Forge could have had a hat-trick by now.
Well, there'll be plenty of pride in the players tonight, but the proudest man in this stadium, I'm willing to wager, is the owner of Minnesota United, Dr. Bill Maguire. 10 years since he casually walked into a Minnesota game in NASL. It was the Minnesota Stars at the time, thought this is fun. They were struggling for a future. He bought the team. He showed the ambition to chase an MLS franchise, funded this stadium to the tune of $200 million, many more millions on the team itself and the infrastructure. And now it's part of payback time. He's had the national team here on 5 occasions, the men 3 times, the women twice, but getting an MLS All-Star game is the ultimate badge of pride for a man who began with soccer as a hobby, and for him now it's an obsession.
Yeah, and one of the more competitive owners in this league. But what the Twin Cities have done over the last 3 or 4 days, just a great showcase for what these two cities can do.
Beltran of Chivas. Porch. Pizarro. Liga MX knocking on the door, one senses here. Luis Quinones. And it cannons away off Araujo. Look at this stadium from the Sky Cam. Hard to believe we're on the site of what until 10 years ago was the site of the old St. Paul bus barn. Morris winning the challenge with Beltran. And MLS have got superior numbers here. It's Vela. The referee trying to play an advantage. The foul kind of had its effect in that it stopped the momentum at a time when MLS were outnumbering Liga MX.
Yeah, but again, what was I talking about at the beginning of the game? It's just Pizarro having a great understanding of where to be in the right moment, because that was 4 against 2 in MLS's favor with Vela leading the counter. Pizarro knowing exactly where to be. Tactical foul, slowing down that counterattack from MLS.
All-Star game has been spread far and wide. The last 14 All-Star matches, visiting 13 different states. Last year a 1-1 draw at LAFC. Nice one on penalties. This was a kick delivered by Ricardo Pepi. 2 saves by Matt Turner in the shootout. Both of them subsequently moving to Europe. Hurtado. Pizarro. And Driussi with a very clean tackle. Leading scorer in MLS and the leading candidate to be MVP this season. Goes Diego Palacios, whose cross teed up the goal. Luis Quinones required the save. It's a corner.
Luis Quinones just turning Araujo inside and out and fancying a great opportunity from about 25, 26 yards out, and Andre Blake had to be sure of that.
Second corner of the night for Liga MX. Hurtado. Just out of play. Other than the ones you played in, which All-Star games are particularly etched in your memory, Taylor?
Well, I think it was the first one, because it was the first one that Major League Soccer said we're going to do something against the grain. And we played in Carson, California against Chivas Guadalajara, and that was the start of what this became in MLS's just historical view of how to do and how to handle an All-Star game. And there were moments where you had games in the league during the same time as MLS games, but I think that first one is what set the trend of where we are now, but 2014 is the one I called. That was different with Bayern Munich coming off all those Germans winning the World Cup final in Portland. Caleb Porter, Pep Guardiola, whatever, all those storylines that we had. That was a real special night. That obviously Thierry Henry retired that night, and Landon Donovan announced his the next day. You lost the bet, didn't you, that I wouldn't bring up 2005 in Columbus?
Did you score?
I did. Oh, good ball.
Very nice.
See ya.
We are heading towards one of the pre-planned substitution intervals, certainly from an MLS perspective, hence the more vigorous warm-ups from the likes of Hani Mukhtar of Nashville and Paul Areola of Dallas. Adrian Heath expecting to change his front six 30 minutes in. Zimmerman, Araujo, and Darlington Nagbe, again a winner of MLS Cup with 3 different teams. Zimmerman. Palacios. And still, very nearly all the way. By Hugo Nevo. Ian Quinones. By Escobar. Luis Quinones. Palacios taking no chances. Corner to be taken by Hurtado. As Liga MX seek to nullify an early goal by Vela.
Get up! Get up! Get up!
Down below as the administrative work is being carried out in anticipation of a flurry of substitutions. They'll have to be programmed into the electronic board. Just be MLS making alterations. This is Reynoso. In for Vela, goalkeeper. Quickly off his line, Camilo Vargas, the Colombian. Beneath us, we're certainly going to see Hani Mukhtar. I think they're going to see Paul Areola, Dane St. Clair. This is Fuch. It's Beltran! They've had some really good scoring opportunities.
They really have. And Darlington Nagbe putting his hand up there because that just was a little bit sloppy between him and Walker Zimmerman. But it's in ways when they turn it over that Liga MX puts you under some real pressure, and Kamal Miller does everything he can just to get into the rear view of Beltran and then just get in front of it to make him try to be absolutely perfect Throwing it wide. Good defending from Kamal Miller.
So here come the first substitutions, 3 by MLS. And 2 from Liga MX. Big cheer for the home goalkeeper, Minnesota United's Dane St. Clair, the Canadian international, who's replaced Andre Blake. Carlos Vela's night is also done. Let's take another look at that goal with AT&T 5G surround view. Different perspective on Carlos Vela's 3rd-minute header.
Yeah, what a wonderful ball in again from Palacios, but Vela just having a great understanding on that back post, timing of the run. 66 goals in MLS, only 2 of those have come off of headers.
And you can visit att.com/MLSallstar for more highlights from any angle. Hani Mukhtar on for Sebastian Driussi. Mukhtar's chosen to wear 95, the year of his birth, as his shirt number. Told you about the goalkeeping change for Liga MX. The other substitution sees a change at striker, where Julio Furch has been replaced by Juan Dineno of Pumas. And he can be excused for being a little weary, having played in the Gamper Trophy against Barcelona in the Nou Camp only on Sunday, a 6-0 defeat. Played the first half, leapt on a plane, had a good long sleep, and was woken up just in time to be involved. And he has done significant damage to MLS teams in CONCACAF Champions League. He had a couple of goals this past season against New England in a remarkable turnaround in the quarter-final, and then followed up with 2 more in the final against Seattle, albeit in a losing cause against the Sounders. There will be MLS coaches and Liga MX coaches, in fairness, but from an MLS perspective, be anxiously watching this game, hoping that their players come through, probably with stopwatches, having made the call to Adrian Heath saying, please only play my man for 30 minutes, and maybe hiding behind the sofa if any of them go into a particularly meaty tackle.
Yeah, but I think that's the only difficult part about this All-Star game is timing. You play Saturday, then you come here, you do a skills competition, game on Wednesday, and then you play on the weekend. But as Adrian Heath is making the decisions tonight, he's also made a few phone calls in his time. It's just natural of where this game lies in the MLS season.
First touch for Dane St. Clair. You're watching coverage of the 2022 MLS All-Star Game on ESPN, presented by Target. Expect more, pay less. Morris. Gathered in by Pizarro. Luis Quiñones. Julian Quiñones. Stopped by Araujo, cleared by Zimmerman. And this is Dineno. Julian Quiñones. Nagby, now that is one that will make his club coach wince. He's lost a boot in the process. Let's hope there's no more serious damage than that.
It's also from behind. I mean, Darlington Nagby rolled that ankle, John. I don't care how you slice. Look at the right ankle. Right ankle rolls right over.
Is one that will have had Caleb Porter wincing. It's a naughty challenge in the context of a game that's at its heart is meant to be an exhibition. But as we said at the very outset, there is an edge to this. You would have expected at the very least a yellow card for that.
Well, and everything, if anything, with VAR, John, I mean, I get it, it's an exhibition, but the challenge is from behind.
Hopefully, no harm done.
But watch the right foot of Darlington Nagbe. Oh.
Ariola. Nagbe does seem to be moving with a little more freedom. It may hasten his substitution. Zimmerman. There is Nagbe. Mukhtar. He decided the skills challenge here last night. Reynoso. Escobar. Pizarro. Mukhtar. Beside him is Ariola. Reynoso. Morris to the right. Emmanuel Reynoso. Araujo.
Look at Araujo. Now the All-Star game sets in, right? 5 attack, 5 defend.
Escobar. Luis Quiñones. Dineno. Hurtado. Free kick. Very definitely within direct range too.
Four.
No doubt about it. Palacios coming right through Hurtado. And as you said it, John, what a dangerous set piece this is for Liga MX.
It is when you've got the likes of Juan Dineno around. 19 goals last season for Pumas.
One more step.
Keep your arms down by your side. The message from referee Joe Dickerson. Hugo Nervo has gone to stand in front of the wall to cause a degree of confusion. It's Dineno! And the deflection in the end was kind to a goalkeeper who was already on his knees, Sinclair. Luis Quiñones. Beltran. Escobar. Mukhtar. Escobar lunges in. It's another challenge which is overly rugged for the occasion, but it is a version of US against Mexico.
Well, you're just seeing players from both sides get stuck in, competing. We talked a lot about it in the pregame, a little bit in the open, of just the league and national pride being on the line in this All-Star game gives it an edge that the other All-Star games in this country don't have.
Hernandez.
I mean, he's had few touches in this first half.
Fernando Beltran. Amidst a buoyant atmosphere at Allianz Field, St. Paul, Minnesota. 26th MLS All-Star game. went over and looks plaintively at the referee, who says get on with it. And this is Palacios. Mukhtar. Reynoso, Areola. Kamal Miller. La Liga gets underway this weekend. Season-long coverage across our outlets. Barcelona, Rayo Vallecano first up. Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC, ESPN Deportes and ESPN+. Dineno. Aviles Hurtado. Walker Zimmerman. Called over by Julian Quiñones. Coming up on the AT&T 5G half-time report, Seb Herkenben will be joined live by MLS Commissioner Don Garber. And we will also break down the first half action, including that very early goal. Carlos Vela, 2 minutes plus change. And we'll be hearing from Carlos Vela with Christina when he leaves the field at half-time. He's just having a practice at the moment with someone else. Reynoso. Looking for Morris.
He just sees things, doesn't he?
He does. He does.
I mean, for Minnesota United, that relationship with Amaria up front, they go as they go. And I'm telling you, there's just, those two have been on the same page over the last month or so.
Dineno. You probably have to include Fragapane in that.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
Escobar. Great header. Save that you would expect to be made, and then the follow-up from Angulo blocked behind. Dane Sinclair properly pumped for this. Hurtado. Palacios out. Lisandro Lopez. It's still Lisandro Lopez.
Well, Dane Sinclair, the Canadian international, was named a starter here in Minnesota in week 3, and he's never looked back. But he's coming off arguably the shakiest performance he has had for Minnesota United last week against Colorado. Good form and technique there, but what a great season he has had up to this point.
Heading to the World Cup with Canada. So 1-0 MLS, and yet in terms of shots on goal, it's 9-3 in favour of Liga MX.
I mean, the truth is, the only 2 chances MLS have had was the goal and then the other chance that Kamal Miller almost got on the end of with the ball whipped in. The Liga MX have had the better chances.
The coach of Atlas, as well as the Liga MX All-Stars, Diego Coca, completes 2 years in charge of Atlas tomorrow and has transformed their fortunes. The club's first league title in 70 years. Former right back with the club. Regarded as a fairly conservative coach, but it's not a night for conservatism. Time coverage with Seb Herkenben. It is you, though, that's grilling, interrogating Don Garber, is it not, Taylor?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting conversation because so much of that is about the macro view of where Liga MX is against MLS. Be interesting to hear his thoughts.
Morris. Starry. For Luis Quinones, who is offside. It's been a booming atmosphere throughout. Build up since the weekend. Carefully managed to a pinnacle tonight. Star Skills Challenge was great fun last night. We have the next Pro All-Star game. And very shortly we'll have the half-time whistle in the main event. And it arrives with Major League Soccer leading Liga MX All-Stars by 1-0. The goal was very early, 2 minutes and 9 seconds or thereabouts, the fastest in this fixture for 12 years. It was scored by LAFC's Carlos Vela, a Mexican scoring against the Mexicans. There are handshakes from players who will be leaving the game at this stage to be replaced by those who've been sitting on the bench itching to get into the action. But let's hear from the main man of the first half, Carlos Vela, with Christine.
Thanks, guys. Carlos, what did it mean? Second minute, already a goal ahead. ¿Qué significa ese gol contra la Liga MX?
La verdad que bonito. Al final es un partido donde están los mejores jugadores de las dos ligas y poder hacer diferencia, poder ayudar a mi equipo a estar ganando es importante y disfrutando cada minuto.
Said it was really nice having that feeling and also obviously helping out his teammates. What do you expect now for the second half? ¿Qué esperas para la segunda mitad?
Va a ser un partido, el segundo tiempo muy complicado. Ellos van a venir más fuerte porque tienen que venir a buscar el gol, pero creo que los jugadores que entran en nuestro equipo tienen mucha calidad y ojalá podamos mantener el resultado.
It's going to be difficult because they're definitely going to be looking for that equalizer, guys, and after that attacking, that's what he expects for the second half. Carlos, thank you. Gracias.
Nada, que esté bien.
Carlos Vela with Christina Alexander in the midst of this sporting palace, shimmering tonight, rippling, reflecting Minnesota's 12,000 lakes and the nearby Mississippi River. On the pitch, an early goal from Carlos Vela. When we return, MLS Commissioner Don Garber will be here. You're watching the 2022 MLS All-Star Game on ESPN, presented by Target. ESPN, presented by Target. And on an evening where Allianz Field is rocking with a full house crowd of 20,000, it is a reshuffling of the pack by the MLS All-Stars. Multiple substitutions, no diminution in quality whatsoever. For the likes of Jesus Ferreira, DeAndre Yedlin, Carlos Gil, Brandon Vasquez, who is pushing hard to get onto the US men's national team roster. All of them, plus several others, are going to be involved. Veteran DeAndre Yedlin, Ilie Sanchez, you'll have caught a glimpse of there from LAFC. There are also going to be sundry substitutions by Liga MX as they manage the minutes of the players who've been gathered, in their case, from 13 of the 18 Liga MX teams. MLS All-Stars drawn from 16 of the 28 clubs. 35 full internationals on display tonight, 17 for MLS and one more than that for Liga MX. Juan Dineno was a substitute that came on towards the end of the first half. Oscar Ustari. But it looks like 9 changes being made by Liga MX at this juncture. So looking at the MLS side, it's going to be Dane Sinclair in goal. It looks like a back four of DeAndre Yedlin, Jacob Glesnes, Aaron Long and Kai Wagner. Midfield held together by Ilie Sanchez with Hani Mukhtar, Carlos Gil, Paul Arriola on one side, Jesus Ferreira on the other. and Brandon Vasquez. So that's 8 further substitutions by MLS, 9 by Liga MX. So both teams have made 11 changes. They can use all the substitutes available to them, so there will be more substitutions to come. This is a very different looking group on both teams now. Referee Joe Dickerson waiting to get us back underway. Festive atmosphere inside Allianz Field. It is the Liga MX All-Stars in the white with the darkest of blue. So a look at those players that are now on the field. And paper at the ready. It's Ilie Sanchez in possession. Heel. Called as a foul by Joe Dickerson. So what do all these substitutions do to the flow of the game, Ted?
It's 2 different games, which is also interesting, right? We, as the viewers at home, can see all the subs scrolling underneath our scoreboard, but you can just see 2 different games. And so obviously what we saw in the first 10 minutes, what a ball here from Carlos Heel.
Not quite gathered in by Ferreira. There was an offside flag anyway.
But it's obviously, as we saw in the first 10 minutes of the first half, the first 10 minutes of the second half, just players getting used to each other, understanding spaces and tendencies. And then hopefully a game that opens up and puts on a show for the 20,000 plus here.
One of the other players that we need to keep a particular eye on from a Liga MX perspective is number 7, Germán Betarami, 23-year-old forward from Monterrey, who is one of the most exciting young talents in Mexican football. He's up front with Dineno now.
Well, and similarly to Tati Castellanos, a former youth national team player for Argentina, and he plays very similar to Tati Castellanos as well. Plays with a real edge.
So 9 halftime substitutions by Liga MX. The man that dictated those, the coach Diego Coca. Christina had a chance to speak to him. What did he have to say, Christina Alexander?
Yeah, guys, he was really happy with what he saw, at least the reaction, a lot of pressing that we're seeing at the moment. And he just said, we just need that last finishing touch. And with the little changes that he made that you guys saw right off the bat, 30 minutes for each of the goalies that he has on the bench.
Okay, thank you. Brandon Vasquez. It's Ilie Sanchez. How much of a... not a shop window, because no one's looking to sell him at the moment, but how much of an opportunity is this for Brandon Vasquez amidst the bright lights of an all-star game?
I mean, listen, FC Cincinnati were taking phone calls throughout this transfer window, and so anytime he's playing in the form that he is, somebody's watching it. I can guarantee you the one person watching is Greg Berhalter.
Yeah, this is Vasquez. Ariola. Carlos Heel. There's Yedlin. First all-star appearance for the US men's national team right back in 7 years. Put out by Mukhtar. This season and last has been involved in more goals than any other player in Major League Soccer.
What a signing he's been for Nashville. Mike Jacobs deserves a ton of credit. Less than $3 million to bring in a player that over the last 2 years has 29 goals, 20 assists. When you look at what you get for the dollar that you pay, Hani Mukhtar has been a top 5 signing in this league. And he's delivered in a variety of ways. During the skills competition, Walker Zimmerman, his teammate in Nashville, talking about just the impact he's had on the field. Just, he's surprised a few people with, I think, how well he's been in the final third. But a great signing for Gary Smith in Nashville.
Here looking to play in Ferreira. Now, Dallas players wide either side of Vasquez. Ariola on the right, Ferreira on the left. Between them, they're responsible for more than 70% of Dallas's goals this season. Ilie Sanchez, too strong for Ariola. into this game has to be settled positively in one direction or the other. It will go to penalties if the score is level after 90 minutes. Aaron Long. Carlos Heel. This is Berterame. Recently moved from San Luis to Monterrey. Atletico Madrid have an interest in his ownership. Berterame chases that, and Dane St. Clair safely collects. Ferreira to Sanchez. On for Vasquez. Areola, Sanchez, Areola again. Yedlin waits near side. Vasquez hopes for the cross. Paul Areola. Let's bring in the head coach of the MLS All-Stars, Adrian Heath. Adrian, what's your take on a unique managerial experience for you so far?
Well, it's been, obviously, we've all enjoyed it. The players have been an absolute credit to themselves and their clubs. They come in with a great attitude. And it doesn't surprise me. The reason they're all-stars is because they're dedicated to the game. They've got that competitive streak in them, and they've enjoyed being here. The odd part's been telling people they're coming off after 30 minutes when they want to stay on. So I've been absolutely delighted with them. I'm so pleased for everybody at our club as well. I think our supporters have been magnificent in the last 2 nights, so it's been a really, really good couple of days for sure.
I mean, Adrian, they ask all of us on the outside from altitude just what this means for the Twin Cities, but you've been here, you've lived it. What a week this has been.
Yeah, and you're always a little bit nervous. You don't know how it's going to go, but I knew that the people would turn out. We had I think it was 4 times bigger than it's ever been for the Skills Challenge. You've seen the stadium tonight, so I'm so pleased for everybody connected with our club, because it shows how far we've come in the last 6 years.
You're ultra competitive. You were as a player, you are as a manager. So how do you frame your attitude to a game like this that at its root is an exhibition, but it's an exhibition with an edge to it?
Well, it is, because obviously I think anytime the US play Mexico at anything, it's going to be competitive. And I just think the nature of our league at this moment in time, how far the MLS has come, I fully expected us to win this game tonight, because I think we've got so much quality.
Of the players you've sort of taken in under your wing temporarily, who are the ones that have really made an impression on you, that you've seen up close and personal?
Well, obviously,
we've
got an abundance of really good football. You look at what, we've got Rui Diaz still to come on. You look at, the goal from Valor and Chicharito. But the one great thing has been the attitude of all of them. They've all been in, and they all want to play. They all want to keep going. You look at the competitiveness of the game at this moment in time. These guys want to win.
Shot from Berterame. Mighty close. Adrian, we're told, is one of the up-and-coming things in Mexican football. I'm sure you've studied tapes of him. How much work have you actually done on the opposition? Is it possible to do any?
Not a lot, because obviously you still don't really know who's coming after the weekend's games. So obviously we've got a sort of a dossier on all the players who are playing, but you don't know what shape they're going to play. You don't know if there's going to be 3 at the back, it's going to be a back 4. So hey, ultimately you just concentrate on your own group and hopefully get them in the right frame of mind to play.
So the only thing I'm curious about, Adrian, is on January 1st, 2023, which one of these MLS All-Stars is going to be announced as a new Minnesota United player?
I think it'll be Carlos Valor, I think he wants to come and play for us.
Good stuff, Adrian. Thanks very much for joining us.
Cheers, fellas.
Liga MX on the attack with Berterame. Areola. Hani Mukhtar. You will have noted the black armband that Adrian Heath was wearing. We did mention it at the start, but if you weren't with us then, sadly his closest childhood friend Alan Salt passed away earlier today. Here's Vasquez. There is Areola, but the flag is up. And it is not a 2-goal lead, it stays at 1. Offside. Subject, of course, to review.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Vasquez is about a yard offside, because as Hani Mukhtar wants to pull his defender, sideways to open up this channel. It looks like Vasquez is just a step in an offside position. But the way this play unfolds shows you the maturation of where Brandon Vasquez has been. What Pat Noonan, Dominic Kinnear, Kenny Arena, Paul Rogers, and that entire staff at FC Cincinnati, they have brought a real composure to this young kid's game. I remember him coming on for Tata Martino. He's playing in wide areas. His conversation with Herc Gomez and Sebastian Salazar in Football America is just talking about as he grew up and became a little bit more physical. His youth coach put him right through the middle. I've just really enjoyed watching him play this year. And I'd be shocked if Greg Berhalter and the U.S. men's national team doesn't have a look at him in the form he's in come September.
Another chance. Again, it's Areola. This time the flag stayed down. Good cut and thrust to this. Substitutions have not disrupted it in any way because the attitude of both teams is exactly the same. Not a night for caution. Angulo. Kevin Alvarez. Blocked by Kai Wagner of Philadelphia. Philadelphia Union with 3 representatives in this side, same as LAFC. Veterami causing problems, and here's Sanchez. Given. Physical look from Jesus Ferreira. It's very much part of the picture, the centre of the picture really, for the US men's national team. Forward options. Interested today to see Matthew Hoppe sign a contract with Middlesbrough with the prospect of him playing regularly at the top end of the championship, leaving Mallorca the Teesside. Maybe that thrusts him into the picture. It's in towards Cabral, dealt with by Vasquez, then by Wagner, although not particularly convincingly. Alexi Vega. Much the star turn, although heavily criticised in Mexico for recent performances. That's by Bertarame, picked up by Areola. And it's Mukhtar. Stumbled by Vasquez. Reyes. Vega. Players out there now for Liga MX. Kevin Alvarez, Luis Chavez, who are trying to make a push for the World Cup. It was Dineno with the effort.
What a run this is from Dineno. Fantastic run because it's off the left shoulder of Glesnes. And Aaron Long's out of that position a little bit. So now he provides the avenue to play this ball in behind. And then it's not really taking a touch. You've set up the run. You've set up the defender perfectly. Lucky for the MLS All-Stars and Dane St. Clair just wide, but what a run that was.
We got the perspective of the head coach of MLS. Let's talk to one of the players who gave everything in the first half, Jordan Morris. He's with Gillian.
Jordan, the MLS All-Stars still up 1-0 here. How would you assess the first 60 minutes or so by your side?
Yeah, it's been really good. You know, it's an open game. Definitely, there's chances for both sides. I think we, have created the most chances, so hopefully we can put another one away and finish it out.
You put in a full shift there in the first half, and you were playing alongside guys that are usually your enemies from Southern California, in Carlos Vela and Chicharito. Did anything surprise you about playing with those guys?
No, I mean, I think I knew what to expect. They're both incredible players, and you know, it was a big honor to be able to play alongside them when, you know, you go week in, week out playing against them. So it was awesome.
Jordan, right in front of us, it seems like there's a few substitutions ready to be made. Who do you think maybe is going to be the secret weapon here?
I mean, my guy Raul, for sure, going to go in and score a goal. So, I mean, all good players, though.
It's been a competitive match so far, but the Seattle Sounders made history when they won CONCACAF Champions League earlier this year. How much extra did that ignite you in this All-Star game?
Yeah, for sure. I think it fuels the rivalry, and sorry, I'm just...
Yeah, everyone caught up in the excitement.
Yeah, I think it continues to fuel the rivalry between the leagues. You know, being the first MLS team to win that, it just shows the growth of MLS. It was a really exciting moment for the league, for the club, and definitely fuels the rivalry out here.
Thank you so much, Jordan.
Yeah, of course, no worries.
Jordan Morris with Jillian Sakovic pitch side. The effort was by Chavez. It yields a corner, and here come two more substitutions for Liga MX. It's a change of goalkeeper. Carlos Acevedo, who's another of those in the frame on the fringes of a potential Mexico World Cup squad. He's coming on, so is Alvaro Fidalgo, the Spaniard. And for MLS, big round of applause for the local boy, Dane St. Clair, who gives way to Sean Johnson of NYCFC. 13 seasons in the league and his first All-Star appearance. Raul Ruiz-Diaz, Taxi Funtas, and Lucho Acosta also coming on, which means that Brandon Vasquez has only had a cameo of 15 minutes. He's off the field now. In by Bergerame. Raul Ruiz-Diaz of Seattle. Lucho Acosta. It's Carlos Gil, closed down by Alexis Vega, and dispossessed by him too. And then Vega runs into Acosta. And a free kick is given. Now, the interesting thing about the All-Star game is that erstwhile combatants become colleagues. On the pitch together now for MLS are Lucho Acosta and Aaron Long, and 3 weeks ago this happened between the pair of them. New York Red Bulls playing FC Cincinnati, and Acosta, 5'3", sent off for a headbutt on his 6'3" opponent. Are they really the best of friends 3 weeks on?
I just can't get away from the height difference. It looks a lot like you and I, doesn't it?
It does. And of course, he doesn't have a box, Acosta, unlike you.
But we talked a lot about Brandon Vasquez. How about Acosta and how good he's been for FC Cincinnati?
Immense. 6 goals, 14 assists, the most assists in the league to this point of the season.
And his former club made a huge signing this winter in Taxi Fontas. Taxi's been just so dynamic in a variety of ways, but also just hearing the off-the-field stuff about how great he's been in the locker room, a real jokester, adds a lot of character to that locker room. Wayne Rooney's going to enjoy coaching him.
Liga MX making incremental progress here, and they've won another free kick, much to the amusement stroke mystification of Kai Wagner. Watching coverage of the 26th MLS All-Star Game, coverage on ESPN presented by Target. Vega and Tuna, great header by Long. Acosta couldn't connect with Fantas. Long away, another scrambled fashion. Well, talking of Lucho Acosta, who better to provide some insight than his former coach at DC United, Ben Olsen, who's on our studio desk tonight. Ben, you will have been least surprised of anyone at his success at Cincinnati. You look at those figures. Take us inside his mind. What sort of a player is he? And what sort of a player is he to manage? What are the challenges?
Well, you know, he's matured quite a bit. He's had a stint in Mexico after DC, and then coming back here. It's really nice to see him kind of maturing, and on any given day he's going to be the best player on the field. He's electric, he's entertaining, people come to watch him, but being this good for this long is new for him, and the challenge now for him and Pat and Cincinnati is to keep him at this level throughout the rest of this year and into the playoffs and in the important games. And I'm a fan, obviously. We've spent a lot of time together and a lot of hours, and so I'm very proud to see him where he's at right now.
Ben, how many hot dogs have you had in the first 65 minutes of this game?
You know I don't eat meat, buddy. I don't understand.
How many impossible hot dogs have you had?
One and a half.
Good stuff, Ben. Thank you. Still the difference between the sides. A third-minute goal by Carlos Vela. Despite multiple substitutions on both sides, the game continues to entertain. It's what you want of an all-star occasion. Kevin Alvarez. Fidalgo began his career with Real Madrid. Alvarez. Kept alive for Fidalgo. Alvarez. Fidalgo. Antuna. Once of LA Galaxy. And that crept up and hit a hand. I think Wagner maybe was outside the penalty area. A close run thing. Decisively cleared by Yedlin. Crowd warming to this. Chavez finding Vega. Worth another look, the potential handball by Kai Wagner.
Well, consecutive MLS All-Star appearances for the left back from the Philadelphia Union. That was outside the box, and it almost looked like it hit, it's ball to hand, whatever it may be. I thought it was interesting over the last 24 to 48 hours, John, is the interest from Leeds United still in Kai Wagner. He's just done a wonderful job for Jim Curtin and Philadelphia Union. At times he's asked for the best defensive record in MLS to defend on an island, and Jim Curtin just says he's done a wonderful job, that he doesn't worry about those moments because Kai Wagner's improved immensely in those 1v1 situations.
A player who began in the 5th division in Germany with Ulm, then played in the 3rd division with Würzburger Kickers. Has really been polished up by Jim Curtin and the staff at Philadelphia.
You surprised with the Philadelphia Union this year as much as I am?
No, because I think they're really well coached. The recruitment is great under Ernst Tanner. I'm not sure there's a team in MLS that makes as much of, not a minimal outlay, but not a substantial outlay. Yedlin only half clear. Reyes. Vega. Rui Diaz, one of 4 players in the MLS squad to have played in Liga MX. Here's another of them, Lucho Acosta. DeAndre Yedlin. Taxi Puntas. Carlos Vela. Bundle of really attractive MLS games coming up on ESPN. Starting Friday week, LA Galaxy against the Sounders. 10 p.m. Eastern, Friday of next week on ESPN. Here's Ferreira. There's Carlos Gil. He goes down, the referee thinks and gives a penalty kick. Liga MX protest. There is the facility of VAR in the background. Joe Dickerson had a long think.
Well, now the question is going to be, is it clear and obviously not a penalty? And the point being is that Carlos Gil, this touch gets away from him just a little bit here, bounces up, but the defender comes through and makes contact. I mean, for VAR to get involved, that's not clear and obvious a penalty for me. And I just look at that and I think Angulo made contact with Carlos Gil, and rightfully so, penalty's called.
Well, this is the sort of thing that's now outlawed in MLS, the crowding and the hounding of the referee. Joe Dickerson waiting for word from Jorge Gonzalez, who is the video assistant, who himself was the centre referee for the 2010 All-Star game.
Well, and it's unfortunate for the defender when the ball from Carlos Gil is first received and it bounces up, right? The touch wasn't as clean. But now the New England Revolution faithful at home are worried about that left knee of Carlos Gil.
Donnie Fuller, the Minnesota physio, is attending to him at the moment. And Joe Dickerson surrounded by eager Liga MX players. And the decision is that the penalty kick stands, which was always likely to be the case.
You want to bet who takes this?
Listen, Rui Diaz was on the spot within about 0.02 of a second of the referee pointing for a penalty. Appearances, 40 goals in Liga MX for Morelia. And once he has redesigned the penalty spot, chance to double MLS All-Stars lead. All right,
the All-Star game, is it a Pineka?
Well, if ever there's an occasion, it's this. Against Carlos Acevedo. Diaz has been held back by hamstring trouble, eager for a run of games and for more goals. And there's one of them. The footballing assassin, Raul Rui Diaz. Clear-eyed, cold-blooded. Nobody in MLS does it better.
How important is this player for the Seattle Sounders to go back to the penalty foul here? Carlos Gil, first touch lets him down, and Angulo brings him down. But Rui Diaz single-handedly is going to change the complexion of the Seattle Sounders season for Brian Schmetzer if he stays healthy, if he returns to that form that we've seen throughout the years, nicknamed the Flea, because you can't really touch him, you can't really find him until the ball ends up in the back of the net. One of the better signings in MLS history.
So Bella in the first half, Rui Diaz from the spot in the second. Last year, Major League Soccer prevailed in this fixture via a penalty shootout. Maybe more straightforward for them this time around. Plenty of possibilities for the script to change. Reyes. Particular hurry for DeAndre Yedlin in taking this throw. Now, those of you that enjoyed our coverage of the All-Star Skills Challenge last night will have noted that the star of the night was young Tucker Zimmerman, who outshone his father and just about everyone else. And happy to say that Tucker and Walker are able to make an appearance now, together with Gillian.
Walker, baby Tucker, I have to say, is following this ball with a hawk's eye.
He really is. He wants to get out there. I just don't know if he's quite big enough yet.
One day. All right, 75 minutes in, MLS just increased their lead 2-0. How would you assess your All-Stars performance here so far, Walker?
It's been good. You know, I think second half has not been quite as open as the first, which probably bodes well for us. And then just a classy PK there from Raul to give us the 2-0 lead. 3
All-Star games for you. What's been unique about this one in this group?
Oh, man, I mean, you're always surprised by the level of competition, you know, when you get out here. I think from the first minute we saw how quickly they were pressing. We're like, okay, here we go. And the same thing last year, where they came out really hard challenge and kind of set the tone. So, you know, hopefully we learn from that next year and can get after them first, but it's certainly a high level.
I'm going to be honest with you, Walker. I really just organized this interview because BB Tucker had so much fun with this microphone yesterday. It's not past his bedtime?
You know, we stretch a little bit for special occasions, so this certainly falls under that category.
Good parents. Walker and Tucker, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Tell you one thing, Tucker looked like John Champion when Carvel Ice Cream comes to the table.
Yeah, you'd love him actually, because he's the sort of chap I think that would laugh at your jokes. He seems very happy.
Oh.
There you go. Fidalgo. Away by Long. Another substitute waiting down below us to come on, Victor Guzman for Liga MX. The Shuka midfielder. He was part of the All-Star game last year as well. Funtas to Yedlin. Vega. Reyes. Good work by Lucho Acosta. And it's Heel who, through Serena, will be relieved to know it's none the worse for wear after that coming together in the penalty area. Acosta. Heel. Ilie Sanchez. Now the Norwegian from Philadelphia Union, Glesnes. Yedlin. There you go. Veterami.
This guy's fun to watch, isn't he?
He's great. Chavez. Smart save. And Johnson did well to hang on.
Smart save from Sean Johnson, but absolutely, John, fantastic work to make sure that Veterame is not there to knock in the rebound. The reigning MLS Cup MVP was massive for New York City in the playoffs last season. Coming up with a big save here. As Liga MX throwing numbers forward to chase the game.
Veterami. Alvarez. That's Long. Fidalgo. Antuna back to Kevin Alvarez. Studiously away by Yedlin. Fidalgo. Chavez. Alexis Vega. Cannons off Yedlin for a corner. The 2022 MLS All-Star Game on ESPN is presented by Target. Expect more, pay less.
Did you see the drone show 2 nights ago that Target put on? What a show that was.
Something else. Substitution, Eric Lira off, Victor Guzman on.
Go wide.
Diaz, Yenlin with open ground ahead of him. Too many options to cross to at the moment. Rami. Well, one of the most important aspects of the game from a Liga MX and MLS point of view has been the form of the various goalkeepers tonight. There have been a number of really good saves. There's Rami. Drill down a little deeper into one of them in a moment. Hidalgo. Reyes.
I failed to mention, John, is this your first All-Star game? It is, isn't it?
First at the microphone. I did go to San Jose 2016 against Arsenal.
And for what reason was that? The open bar?
It was just a stage of, well, yes, but just a stage of my career where I was simply dreaming of the possibility of calling one of these alongside you. Absolutely a lifetime's ambition achieved. Bertarami. Alvarez.
Safe to say this one's been better?
Yes. No question. Reyes. Dineno. Alvarez. So we're talking about all those saves, and one in particular by Dane St. Clair stands out whilst he was on the pitch. We can take another look at that play with AT&T 5G surround view.
Yeah, and this is when, in the first half, Liga MX was putting pressure on the MLS All-Stars, and Dane St. Clair had to come up with a good save. A goalkeeper of this quality has to make that save, but pressure was pouring on, and the big man came up with a good one.
If you fancy an alternative view, visit att.com/MLS-All-Star for more highlights from any angle.
You know Dane St. Clair, where'd he go to college, John? University of Maryland, buddy.
Oh, by the way, congratulations. Is that my cue to say congratulations that you are now?
Just throw to Dane St. Clair. He's on the mic now.
Oh, okay. Dane St. Clair needs to pay homage to Taylor. I'm sure he's aware of that. But let's join Gillian for more.
Dane, I was going to ask you about the All-Star game, but Taylor won't stop talking about Maryland. Do you have a message for him?
Go Terps.
Go Terps, baby. Go Terps.
He's saying go Terps, too. All right. MLS closing in on another MLS All-Star game win over Liga MX. How would you assess the All-Stars' performance so far, Dane?
Yeah, I mean, it's been excellent. I think to start early with getting the goal was huge for us, and then to keep a clean sheet this far, hopefully Sean can close it out. I got full trust in him that he will, and then to finish the game like this is beautiful.
I love having a goalkeeper because you're giving love to the other goalkeepers. What does it say about the quality that we are 84 minutes in and you guys are keeping a clean sheet?
Yeah, I mean, Andre's done it for so long, and then myself being one of the hometown guys to play here was nice, and then Sean being in the league so long, and I'm surprised that this is his first call-up because he's been one of the top guys in the league for so long as well.
To be in your first All-Star game and to be representing Minnesota United here at Allianz Field, you've been one of the most popular guys down on the field with the fans. What has that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, the fans, I get to see them every week, and they're great. I mean, no surprise that another sold-out crowd tonight because they show up, and they show up every time that they get the opportunity to. So just being able to give back. And I know
Alvarez! Cleanly struck, and this game is back in the balance. Kevin Alvarez with a belter.
What a strike this was from Kevin Alvarez, an MLS All-Star last year for Liga MX. Two-time best 11. His entire professional career has been at Pachuca. How's this for a strike? Pick it out of the net, Sean Johnson. What a wonderful strike that was from Kelvin Alvarez.
There was no saving that. Even Dane St. Clair at 6'3" and a bit might have struggled to get across. Get one of those giant gloves to it. Here's Alvarez again. We'll go back to Dane in just a second. In towards Berterame. Now there was some contact there with Yedlin. Liga MX asking about the possibility of a penalty. Waved away. Back to you, Gillian.
Your goalkeeper's getting some pressure now, and they've pulled within one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much that he could have done on that one for sure. I mean, but I have full trust that he'll be able to see this out, and gave him the message that I had full belief in him to see it out, and he told me he got us, so full belief in him.
A full circle moment for you earlier when you were out there on the field with Montreal defender Kamal Miller. The two of you used to drive to youth practice together up in Canada, outside of Toronto. What is this like now, playing with him? Did you ever think that this moment would come?
I mean, it was some stuff we used to talk about on those carpool rides for sure, but to really be living it and to dreaming it, playing here, playing against each other in the MLS and playing together on the for Canada and hopefully in the World Cup.
You shared a funny story with me earlier this week. Can you share it now with our viewers? And I think you can use this opportunity to apologize to your mom, right?
Yeah, I've apologized quite a few times for my mom, so she's good now. Got a new car, so she's doing just fine. But yeah, Kamal used to hate drinking water. And like, it was the funniest thing. And whenever like he would come over, my mom would make sure that there was juice in the house for him.
And you guys put a little dent in her car back in the day. All right, Dane, thank you so much.
Thank you, Pat.
John.
Thank you, Gillian. Dane St. Clair really building a career for himself, looking forward to the World Cup in the autumn as well. One thing we would say, whilst Dane was talking, we saw that replay of the penalty shout by Liga MX, and yes, there was some contact between players, but also it looked like a handball by Yedlin.
It was, because you also got to remember, DeAndre Yedlin threw his right hand and right arm at the ball. I was surprised VAR didn't take a second look.
Vega leaves it for Reyes. Let's have one more look at that particular moment in time.
Well, Berterame timed his run perfectly, but look at the right hand from DeAndre Yedlin. Now, the question is whether or not VAR looked at that and said Berterame headed it first off of Yedlin's hand. But from that point of view, and even in live action, John, you saw the right hand of Yedlin move towards the ball. I'm a little surprised they didn't just maybe pause the game when the ball first went out and have a look at it.
VAR has been used loosely this evening, in tone with the game as a whole. It's probably the right approach. It's a debate as to whether VAR is actually a worthwhile part of a non-competitive fixture, but it is such a feature of the professional game now that it's almost expected. We're heading towards 4 minutes of stoppage time, by the way. Carlos Heel. Lesnes. Brutas, the Greek international, tearing things up at DC United. Carlos Heel. Jesus Ferreira. Special night for the soccer public of the Twin Cities. It's nearly half a century since professional soccer appeared in these parts. With the entry into the NASL, the Minnesota Kicks. There's Alvarez. People who kept the torch, the flame alive and burning in the darker times when it was a struggle to keep the sport alive at a professional level in this area. Many many of them have been invited to the game tonight, which is nice. Vega, there's Long. Cleared by Yedlin. And we have three of the founding fathers of soccer in Minnesota. What a great sight to see Steve Litt, Alan Merrick and Alan Willey. Alan Willey, the Artful Dodger. 129 NASL goals in 238 games. Stalwarts of that Minnesota Kicks team. Drew crowds of nearly 50,000 to the Met Stadium. That's now the Mall of America. All of this under manager Freddie Goodwin. How proud they must be, Taylor, to see how those foundations have led to this flourishing environment.
Oh, they were a huge part of my family's life, my mom and dad being here with the Minnesota Kicks, but all the stories that I heard about this environment in the Twin Cities and what they would bring to Major League Soccer, they have delivered tenfold. But we cannot forget about what the NASL did in starting that movement and supporting soccer, and those three gentlemen did a ton for the game here in Minnesota.
Just to underline those days, I went for a sandwich in one of the hospitality lounges before the game tonight, and the gentleman served me, and he said, I can't believe what we're seeing here tonight, because I have a memory as a schoolboy of playing soccer in this city, and we were playing on some waste ground, just having a kickabout, and it was the day before the Kicks were due to play the Cosmos, and a chauffeur-driven limo stopped at the side of the road, and a gentleman got out who looked more than vaguely familiar and asked if he could have a kickabout, and it was Pele. This gentleman was asked to go in goal and faced 3 Pele penalties. Heel. Still talking about it all these years later. People are more than happy to listen to stories like that. He also served a mean pastrami sandwich. Bundesliga action to look forward to. Next Saturday, the 20th of August, big game, Borussia Dortmund against Werder Bremen, 9 AM Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes and the ESPN app. ESPN Plus also carrying that game, which is the main home of Bundesliga and La Liga. Betarami. Betarami goes again. Johnson with enough of it, swung up by Long. It's a precarious lead at the moment for MLS. But here's Carlos Gil. Jesus Ferreira. Rui Diaz, at the moment, is cast in the role of match winner for that 73rd minute penalty. Puntas. That was an inventive attempt. He was stretching. Two balls on the pitch, but the referee is willing to turn a blind eye. Just over a minute to play. Very clearly a foul by Acosta. Somehow we've got through what's actually been a very competitive, non-competitive game, if that's possible, without a yellow card. This is Vega. Betarami. Next year the All-Star game will be held in DC. DC United. Hidalgo. Quite who the opposition will be, it remains to be seen. It'll be a very different picture with the League's Cup taking a month out of the midpoint of the league season, which is going to be a theme of US against Mexico. So whether MLS Liga MX is really the way forward for the All-Star game, something that Don Garber touched upon.
But I think the League's Cup and that version of it next season is going to fill a huge void into the summer with both leagues pausing. There's going to be a real competitive edge to that tournament. And so I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what this MLS All-Star game looks like coming next year in DC.
Never mind next year. This year, victory to Major League Soccer's All-Stars by 2-1. Raul Rui Diaz with the clincher in the 73rd minute. that after Carlos Vela had scored very early. Kevin Alvarez made sure that interest was maintained right to the end by lashing one in from distance, but it's congratulations all round for and from Adrian Heath and his staff. Sean McCauley there, involved in an all-star game for the third time. Carlos Heel, who earned the penalty, shaking hands with the fourth official, Tim Ford. Overall thoughts on what certainly has been a very entertaining occasion?
I think it's just coming off the culmination of the best transfer window in MLS history, of a great showcase of what this league is about. Hosting Liga MX in this great city of St. Paul, Minneapolis playing a huge part of the celebrations, but this league's on the up and up, and Adrian Heath and all the coaches in and around the league know where this league is going, and tonight was a showcase of that, and the future is very bright in closing the gap between Liga MX and Major League Soccer.
So there you have it. Sebastian, Herc, Ben from up in the booth. Victory to MLS All-Stars for the second year running, this time without the vagaries of penalties. Clear-cut 2-1 win.
John Taylor, great stuff and a great performance from the MLS All-Stars as they, for the second year in a row, claim a big victory over their counterparts from Liga MX. Herc, did it live up to the hype?
Absolutely. A celebration. It's all fun and games until somebody loses. And you saw how much it meant to Liga MX. They really tried. They really came out.